Hi, my name is Vanessa Edwards, and I am the President and Principal of Creative Performance, also known as CPI. A little background on me: I'm a former agency principal. I owned a digital marketing agency from 2005 to 2010 when it was acquired. And shortly thereafter, I started CPI, a marketing operations consultancy. So we focus on helping agency principals and leadership teams improve profitability and performance while maintaining creativity. Very important. In the last decade, we've done over 100 agency management software deployments, and we've done over 50 agency turnarounds. And our main focus in that time has been giving leadership the data and insights that they need to answer those really tough questions. The goal of this video is to talk about business intelligence for the marketing services industry and how it can improve the decision-making and performance of agencies. However, before we start, I would like to discuss some interesting industry facts that I believe are relevant to this conversation. HubSpot recently conducted a survey of over 1,000 agencies, and the results were very enlightening. They first asked agencies about their biggest pain points. Number 1 and number 3, landing new clients and finding great employees, are fairly universal and typical of what we see in the industry. However, you will see number 4 and 5, profitability and managing cash flow, are a pretty big focus as well. What's really interesting here is that landing new clients and finding great talent are actually fueled by the agencies having profitability and cash flow, except these are their pain points number 4 and 5 as well. It's like a circular reference in Excel. What I thought was also interesting was that in order to find and keep the best talent, agencies need to have good benefits. What you can see here in this graph is that agencies want to provide all of these benefits, but again, this requires the profit and cash flow we mentioned above that agencies are also struggling with. In addition to this, we discovered 50% of agency principals aren't interested in any sort of merger, acquisition, buyout, or taking on outside investment. But the remaining who are interested are going to struggle to get a good multiplier or payout for all of their hard work if they don't have good financial and operational data. And on top of all of this, 82% of agencies have less than 3 months cash in the bank. They don't have the profit or cash flow that can really fuel opportunity. In my experience with agencies, because they don't have enough profit or cash in the bank, which means they once were profitable, they don't have the luxury of taking opportunities. It means they end up back in the hamster wheel, taking on non-profitable business to, as one of my clients once said, feed the machine. It becomes a circular problem that agencies don't have the data and insights to get themselves out of. Now for the good news. When asked what types of software agencies thought would help them better run their agencies, the number 1 on the list was project management software. And number 2 was reporting and analytics software. Both of these are even above proposal generation software, which, if you remember, was their biggest pain point of landing new clients. What this means is that agencies are realizing that a good PM software can lead to good data, and then that data can be used to gain insights and analytics that will help them make the data actionable. Agencies now want the data and insights to get out of this, what they feel like is a never-ending cycle. After 10 years of consulting, I believe agencies need 20% net income to be considered healthy and 25 to 35% net income to be considered resilient or best in class. To many agencies, getting to 15% is a dream, and I have seen many agencies struggling at or below 5%. So what is holding agencies back? My experience has taught me that in order to succeed and create impactful and lasting change, agencies need a unifying and directing force, specifically business intelligence for agency leadership. Business intelligence helps agency leadership understand the past and anticipate the future. It also helps them effectively plan, react to disaster, and build consensus among large groups. So what is BI? Let me begin by saying that business intelligence is not what people generically or generally refer to as reporting. It would be like saying strategy is the same thing as thinking. So what is BI? There's a lot of conflicting opinions. So to better understand it, let's first start with some definitions. To To start, let's talk about metrics versus KPIs. A metric is a measurement of a specific business process. Almost anything can be a metric: time entry, number of calls, number of hours billed. A KPI, however, is the measurement of a valuable metric that measures progress towards a business goal. While there can be thousands of metrics, ideally there are only 15 to 20 KPIs that you use to run your business. To make it really simple, a KPI is a metric, but a metric is not necessarily a KPI. Now let's discuss what makes something a dashboard versus a scorecard. A dashboard is a grouping of non-linked metrics or KPIs. The dashboard measures performance and short-term goals. It's typically real-time data and used daily. Whereas a scorecard is made up of linked KPIs, where we have taken the most important data to us and linked them together on a scorecard that allows us to measure progress over our long-term goals. Scorecards are used periodically versus daily and are critical for planning and executing a business strategy. Dashboards help you understand how you are performing on a specific issue at a specific time. However, scorecards help you sharpen or perfect your process or revise your organization's strategy. And one more important distinction is understanding reporting versus business intelligence. Reports are made up of a specific set of records or data that shows you what happened. They do not focus on data relationships, but can be good for measuring department goals. However, business intelligence is focused on actionable data. It organizes, analyzes, and explores multiple data sets showing you why things happened. It should help you discover data relationships and can be used effectively to improve organizational performance versus just department performance. Reports focus on past and current status to initiate short-term action, while business intelligence focuses on expansive data relationships to guide planning and improve organizational performance over time. Now that we've discussed the basic definitions of reporting and business intelligence, let's talk about why BI is critical for agency leadership. They just don't know it. The one consistent thing that I've noticed over my career is that agency leadership is never in alignment. Everyone on the leadership team has their own perspective of what to fix and how to fix it. But they need a unifying force of good, actionable data so they can gain consensus, build a plan, and work together to execute. Imagine if you could get everybody in the boat, all rowing at the same time in the same direction. You could do anything. To that end, CPI has spent the last 3.5 years building a patent-pending business intelligence solution specifically for the marketing services industry. Think of it as a BI solution for agency leadership by agency leadership. Over the last decade, I've worked with over 150 agency leadership teams to solve a variety of challenges and help them achieve their goals. The one thing I have noticed is they keep asking me the same questions over and over again. In an effort to answer some of these questions, they have contracted with BI consultants or tried to build their own solutions with an almost 100% failure rate. So let me give you an example of the most common questions that I hear from agency leadership. Some of these seemingly easy to answer that then lead down a never-ending rabbit hole of analysis. Why are my people working so hard, yet we aren't making any money? How hard should I work my staff before hiring new talent? Are there areas I should cut, and if so, what and how? How much am I paying people to do work I'm not getting paid for? And which of my staff are overachievers and underperformers, and why? In order to answer some of these questions, we need to start with how we're going to measure an agency's performance. To start, we can look at an agency's current financial snapshot. What we know is that each agency has a unique potential that they could achieve. The difference between an agency's potential and their current financial snapshot is that agency's gross opportunity cost. Now, we know that some elements of opportunity cost are not measurable. However, many of them are. If we just consider what we can measure, we can now accurately set our agency's financial potential and therefore identify our agency's financial opportunity cost. Now, setting of an agency's potential is not arbitrary, but must be predicated on a financial and operational model that has been validated and tested with industry KPIs and, of course, continuously improved. Now, just identifying your financial opportunity cost is not enough. If I tell you that your agency has a $2.5 million financial opportunity cost, but give you no ideas on how to solve it, you are probably just going to be depressed, frustrated, and stuck continuing to play whack-a-mole operationally to try and fix things. We need to go further than that. What we know is that financial opportunity costs can be broken down into three main categories: utilization, realization, and rate margin. So utilization gap is the difference in billable hours between your operational model targets and employees' actual billable hours. Rate margin is the difference between an employee's annual gross billable target in dollars and their annual fully loaded compensation. And realization gap is the gross billable amount of all billable transactions that were not billed back to a client, typically all over budget transactions. Now, there may be 1,000 things that happen in your agency that affect those categories, but each process or problem still rolls into those three main buckets. And remember, not all agencies' category breakdowns are the same. Each agency has a unique financial opportunity cost breakdown and therefore should have a unique solution. It is critical that you know your agency's unique breakdown, as how you operationally solve a utilization problem, rate ratio problem, or realization problem is very, very different. If you try to solve a realization gap problem with a utilization gap solution, you have likely made things much, much worse. Now let's jump into AgencyStory to see this in action. We are going to start with our financial scorecard. The scorecard immediately shows us the health of our agency in relation to our financial potential. I can quickly see my agency's actual revenue of $10.7 million, followed by my agency's potential of $13.2 million. What this tells me is that if I had executed against my financial and operational model, I would have $2.5 million in additional revenue, meaning my opportunity cost was $2.5 million. Now, what's so amazing about financial opportunity cost is that if recaptured, it falls immediately down to the bottom line of net income. That means that my $2.5 million in additional revenue becomes $2.5 million in additional net income. There are no additional direct labor expenses or overhead expenses to recapture this. While my revenue only increased by 23%, my net income just grew 11 times. Now let's look at our agency ratios to see our salary to AGI ratio. Now we are currently sitting at 74%, which we know is way too high. Best practice for our industry is 50%. However, what we can see here is that if we hit our financial potential, meaning we executed to our plan, our salary to AGI would be 50%. What this does is validates our financial model. While we are not executing to our plan today, we know that if we did, our salary to AGI ratio would be right at best practice, confirming that our model is good. With a traditional reporting tool, agency leadership would not know whether this high salary to AGI ratio was due to high compensation, low utilization, or low realization, and therefore may make a myriad of mistakes while trying to solve this ratio. With AgencyStory, we can now pinpoint what we should be focusing on. In subsequent videos, we will be exploring the various ways we can drill into AgencyStory scorecards to investigate financial opportunity cost and pinpoint the utilization, realization, and rate margin gaps we may have, as well as the corresponding reasons. We can now start to answer those tough questions like, why is our utilization so low? Where are people spending their non-billable time? Why is our realization gap so high, and is it due to misscoping, over-servicing, or not charging change orders? Once you can translate your opportunity costs into this detail, you can determine which problems have the most ROI and align your leadership team to tackle them. I hope you enjoyed our introduction to AgencyStory and the power of business intelligence. Most agency principals didn't start their firm to talk about business intelligence. But the reality is the marketplace is more competitive than ever, and you need to be able to make better decisions faster than your competitors. We've built AgencyStory to help you do just that.